Welcome to the Peer Effect Postbag. I'm James Johnson, joined by Freddie Burley. We asked for your questions, and Freddie and I are going to tackle them together. These aren't theoretical case studies, it's the stuff that's keeping you up at 2 a.m. Let's get answering. So, welcome to the Peer Effect Postbag. I'm James Johnson.
And I'm Freddie Burley. So, what have you been up to recently?
Well, I mean, it was great to see everyone from the Founder Coach Network the other day. For those that don't know, so it's a group of like 8-9 of us, all founder coaches, all been doing it for a while. Sort of all share sort of mission on how to make founder coaching great. Always like different specialities, and we meet up once a quarter, sort of collaborate on things like this podcast. But I really just enjoy the time listening to what everyone's been up to.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know, it feels nice. As long as a coach, it's almost like the founder isolation times 10, because as a founder, often I find founders get sort of tired because they're supporting their team and no one's supporting them. And I suppose as a coach, often you're supporting 10, 12 founders and no one's supporting. So actually it's really nice having sort of that peer network.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's quite rare to find people that are, especially when you work solo, mainly solo, to find people who are really on the same page and to just hear exactly as you say, like what they're up to, how they're running their time, what they're focusing on, what they're musing, and also sharing learnings and experiences. And I found it so helpful, and enriching.
Yeah, and I feel like Jen put together like a really nice group of people, like sort of different backgrounds, different focuses.
Yeah.
And it just seems like actually collaboration just leads to more and more things, like going at an abundance mindset.
Yeah. And it's like a generous mindset of like, let's see what emerges. It's a great group of people who are all, really committed to their work and generous in what they do. And so then, lots of different things can emerge.
And I think we talked before, like this idea of sort of the external versus the internal perception. And that's kind of, you can see sort of other people doing things on LinkedIn. It's like, oh my God, this is, and it's good to hear what's really happening and just kind of enable your internal self just to breathe a bit and go, okay, actually here, there's enough trust that you see other people's internal selves, not the external story.
Yeah.
And that in and of itself is just quite helpful, even without all the stuff around like ideas on how to coach better or new theories that are coming out or frameworks that you might look at. So it's kind of like, there's definitely like skill and learning part to it, but there's a lot of kind of emotional support as well.
Yeah, 100%, which is so valuable. And you realize that everyone's just trying to figure it out. No one has all the answers. Should we dive into Sarah's question?
Let's do it.
Okay. So her question is, when everything looks like it's working, how do you avoid getting complacent? Interesting. So what have you seen with your clients?
I mean, it's rare that I think clients feel that everything's working. Number one.
I feel like this is a dream. This is a dream for most of my clients. I'm not sure what that says about me.
But there definitely are periods, I think, where it just feels like things are working. Like you haven't had like a key person resign for a while, or your key clients are in a good place. There feels like a good rhythm. Your numbers are in a good place.
Yeah.
And it does feel nice, but it's, you do, I think, as a founder, know that there is something coming. That stability is not the norm, because particularly like our clients, they're normally pushing for scale. So as you're pushing, you're breaking things. Yeah. So you might be, like, people might be like, the company might grow past their capability. You might be opening up new spaces. People might get stressed and leave. Like you may be struggling to find the clients. You need to hit that growth rate. You might be thinking about, I mean, certainly founders in the startup, the funded space, getting towards the back end of like getting ready for the next fundraising thing feels tough. So I think having that while being in the moment, also that longer term plan of what might be coming up. And sometimes I think the thing I'd mainly say is enjoy that moment and just appreciate it because it is probably stuff is going to come up.
Yeah. And it's going to change exactly as you say. It might not be crisis mode, but when you're scaling quickly, everything has to change quite cyclically in order for you to get to where you want to be next. It's interesting. I was speaking to a client this week in a session And he was talking about actually everything feels like it's in a good place, and this funny feeling of almost like waiting for the other shoe to drop, but also the feeling of when he was talking to his investors, he's like, I don't want to sound like I'm full of shit, just being like everything's great and doing the whole founder everything's great when everything's like burning behind you. And he was like, but it's true. So I almost found myself kind of trying to make things up that weren't working to be authentic, but then ironically obviously then that feels deeply inauthentic because things genuinely are really good. But I completely agree. When things are working, also enjoying a bit of recovery. If you're on this, especially on that venture-backed journey, it's so intense. And there's a huge amount of pressure and a huge amount of what can feel like judgment coming from all angles. And nothing ever feels like it's going, often nothing feels like it's great.
Yes.
Because something's always not quite working or not quite there, or customers not fully happy. Like there's always something. So it's not like it always feels like it's in your hands and you can have a moment you can just breathe and your to-do list is done. It's there's always open tabs, or there can be a feeling of lots of open tabs. So there's also, how can you recover? How can you use that time to also just rest and really also notice what is working? How do we create that? What set us up to be here?
The continue part, like I also think it's a really big gift, because often when you start working with founders, they're very much in that kind of survival headspace of like, things might be burning, something's going wrong, and it's kind of quite short-term focused, like how do I get myself out of this hole?
Yeah.
And actually once you're out of it, you've kind of given yourself that gift of like looking longer term. And I think when you're in these moments, if you can start planning and thinking ahead and being clear what's going on and start doing some of that work, that also makes you, I think, less likely to fall back in the hole. Like the further out you can get, even if you do fall back a bit, then you're kind of sort of still on dry land, not back in the hole.
Yeah. And it's that sense of perspective of when you can create that levity and that sense of separation of, so you can look in on the picture as opposed to just being a character in the story. And it's like, how do you look in on the story so that you can have that sense of perspective, or, and then how, when it's not going well, you can still create that sense of perspective as opposed to being dragged into it too. Yeah.
And I think the other thing I took from that is like sort of complacent. It's interesting the choice to word complacent, because I think what I also heard is like urgency. It feels like when things are going well, you've removed that those kind of urgent, important tasks have sort of gone. But it's probably there's still very much the non-urgent, important tasks.
Yeah.
And that I think can be quite hard for founders, because that it's quite easy to motivate or work when you've got that someone else is driving the urgency, like your client's driving urgency, your team's driving urgency. There's something driving it.
True.
But like, what is it? How do you motivate yourself when there's not that urgency? But there will always be important things to do. Like you could like do a deep dive on your management team. You could think ahead for sort of what are some like long-term big client wins you go after. There's quite a lot to be done.
Yeah.
But how do you not almost waste that opportunity as well? Like, there's definitely time to like recharge, but that also feels like a big opportunity to get ahead and work on some of those really important tasks. Actually might have the biggest payoff.
Yeah.
You just haven't had the time to look at them.
Yeah, it's such a good point. And how you focus on those more strategic or more cultural or even just like catching up with people and like checking in with your team and like really reconnecting with people to see how they are after that cycle or that sprint or the period of time that they're coming out from, and maybe gathering feedback, and it can be a good time to gather feedback from your customers or from the team or the people around you, so that it's more of the kind of pruning and also then focusing, because it can create some real shifts and leaps once you gather the data and you see where you are and then think, okay, where do we now want to go and what does that look like and how do we want that to feel? And
it may also avoid the temptation to do more. It's like, oh, I've got space. What more should I be doing? So I end up creating tasks to do.
To make you feel good for the dopamine.
Yeah.
You get the dopamine, then you feel, I love that phrase of slow is smooth and smooth is fast. I can't remember who said it, but that feeling of sometimes when you slow down, it allows you to see what's most important. And so when you do have those periods where you feel like everything's going well, you're not distracted by all the immediate burning fires, you can be more focused and more discerning and actually show up more like a leader, a creator, as opposed to an executor.
Yeah, because I think sort of found a client, they tend to go, oh, I feel like I don't have time to like do X, or like I'm doing planning in the evenings, or I'm kind of like, so there's self-care, but there's also like, imagine you have the gift of a day to really focus on a thing. To a lot of our clients, that sounds like almost a bit of a dream. It's like, wait a minute, I could do a whole day of focus work with like no emails, no staff interruptions, no nothing. Like, yeah. But if you've got to that space, how do you really protect it? How do you really use it rather than let it just drift or let stuff float into that time? So you've no longer got a whole day. You drift into your emails and do stuff that's actually not that important, or like that. I think is sounds like the challenge that Sarah might be going through of like, how do I not waste this time?
Yeah.
What would you see as some of sort of things she might do to really use the time and protect that time, make sure that sort of she can do these kind of big day focus work or the self-care?
Yeah. I guess it comes back to what does she want to be doing? So in that idea of when everything's going well, how do I not be complacent? I'd explore like what is it? What would she be doing what's like the opposite of complacency? Is it proactivity? Is it energy? Is it aliveness? Is it focus? Like what's the opposite of the feeling she's trying to avoid? And then exploring, okay, what would make you feel like you were being, if we chose proactive, say is the opposite of complacent, what would make you feel like you're being really proactive, or that you, and then exploring, okay, is it that she wants to feel more, actually more energy around the future and the vision, and that's what's pulling her to spend more time or feels important? Or actually is it where are we now? And really becoming clear about, after this cycle of growth, where the company now is, where the team now is, where her relationships are, where her like that sense of orientation. Because I think often it's hard to know where you want to go if you don't fully grasp where you are now.
Yeah.
And sometimes when people's visions aren't clear, often be like, okay, sometimes it's helpful to look backwards, so you can orientate and understand. And then once you've got a sense of where you are now, we have more data, and the patterns are more obvious that inform where you want to go next and what's working, what's not working. One
of my clients used a great phrase like "success leaves clues."
Yeah, exactly.
Which I've always really liked.
Yeah, it's so true, so true. What would you do with her?
Well, firstly, I congratulate her and say, well done.
Yeah, exactly. Of course.
But I think it's good to celebrate that success state. I think we look very, very bad at doing that. So I would say, well done. Yeah. Acknowledge that you're doing something right to get to that stage.
Yeah.
I like your idea around that clarity. Like, what is it that's, if you had that space, where are you trying to get to? What would energize you to focus on? And I suppose maybe I think about who I would use to protect that time. Because sometimes if you're feeling like it's just you, why can't my clients would say, why can't I be more self-disciplined? And it's like there are some stages where it's actually very hard to be disciplined, and it's hard to rely on motivation. It needs more comfortable from commitment than motivation.
Yeah.
And one thing I personally find was helpful is like finding a collaborator or a partner on things, because then there's a bit of mutual accountability.
Yeah.
Like I'm much better at doubles tennis than I'm at singles tennis. Although I'm pretty bad at both now. I used to be, okay. But I do find that I find like who is going to help you stay accountable, get that clarity, and really utilize that time.
Yeah.
Right. Well done, Sarah. And that's all for today. So thank you for listening. This has been the Peer Effect Postbag. We will see you next week, and please send your questions in to hello@peer-effect.com.